All right, we're going to show the integration between Schoology and EdPuzzle. And I'm in my Schoology course. It's actually two linked sections. I want to point out a couple things. Number one, I've got a couple of folders. They're empty. They don't have anything in them. But I do have a folder that was copied from another course from last year. This could also be from your resources. Maybe it was something you created or used or another teacher shared it with you. And inside this folder, there are some EdPuzzles. And so here we go. This one, if I open it, it even looks like it's working. You'll see in a moment, but I can see this video is assigned. However, this is copied. And if I pop over to EdPuzzle, you can see this course is called 2425 Demo Course. There's no course in my courses called 2425 Demo Course. I'll go ahead and sign in my Google account here. It's good to show. That's what you should do if you're in Robbinsdale. But here's my classes, and I don't see one called 2425 Demo Course. And that makes sense because this was a course from a past year. Maybe I got it from another teacher. And so the first point to mention is you can't use these. You actually need to delete these. I mean, you could take a screenshot of them if you wanted to make sure you know which ones you want to bring in here, but you have to delete them. They won't work. They're just going to cause problems. So that's a really important point that I wanted to emphasize right as we start. So I'm going to go ahead, delete all that. Now, you saw I had EdPuzzle open in another tab. You can certainly go at any time to edpuzzle.com. You can sign in with your Google account. You don't want to create a class from here. I know sometimes people are tempted to do that, but that's not going to work for the Schoology integration. You need to generate a class from within Schoology. So I'm going to visit my content here while I'm in EdPuzzle. And what I like to do is I create folders of content. So I have a couple of folders. I have this demo folder here, and here are a couple of EdPuzzles that I like to use. If I go back to my content, if you teach a class, you could create a set of EdPuzzles. Like here's those EdPuzzles that were referenced before that were linked in the content that I brought in. But again, you have to rebuild this connection each time you teach the class, which is why folders over here are really helpful because it makes it fast. All right, so let me go to Schoology and show you how you create your EdPuzzle class and then how you start using this integration. So I'd like to create EdPuzzles within this weekly quizzes folder. I'm going to use EdPuzzle for quizzes, which is a great use for that, quick scoring, especially if you use auto-scored question types. So what you do from within Schoology is you click Add Materials, and over on the right side, we've set up an EdPuzzle integration, so you'll see that right there. If you launch that, the first time you launch it, it's going to ask you to create a class. So here is how you create your class. It's optional to create a description, but I'll just say class for demo purposes. All right. You do need to choose your grade level or grade levels. I think you can only choose one, actually. I'll just mess around with this a little bit. And I will say this is a physics. Well, it's not obviously, but create the class. So now I can go ahead and start assigning some content. You can see I have my content area up right away. I could go into this demo folder, and let's say I'm going to assign this this one. This is 5. There's 5 questions here, or bulbs. We'll go ahead and say next. It'll take me to the settings. I want students to be able to do it twice. It's up to you. Prevent skipping sounds good. Turning on closed captioning. Okay, and then I'll assign it. Now it shows up here. If I were to click on it, I would get an error. and we'll look at why. Let's click on it and see. Something went wrong, and it gives you the little message of what you need to do. Because you want to see your students' progress, you need to click the gear, select Edit, and check Enable Grading. That's going to bring this into the Schoology gradebook. It's going to make it more prominent for your students. So let me go back to the weekly quizzes folder, and this is what they're intending for you to do. Click Edit, and you're not going to mess with anything up here. That just comes in as part of the integration, but the Enable Grading, that's where you can put the points. This one was actually, I think, was it 5 questions? So if I made it 5 or 10 points, basically each question that they do is going to be worth 2 because there's only 5 questions. But you can figure that out, what points make sense with the EdPuzzle you assign. We need a category. I have a quizzes category here. Check the other things. If you're doing the integration with Campus, you'll have a grading task as well. But this gives you the idea. Now, if I want it to show up, which I do, over in the upcoming area, you do need to put a due date and time. So maybe I want this to be due Tuesday the 10th by 3 p.m. I could just do that, or yeah. Okay. And the same for section 2. I do want this to be available to both my classes, both of my sections, sorry, and then save. Now, if I go into my materials, I will now see here is this EdPuzzle, and it's within this weekly quizzes folder. If I click on it, I'm not going to see any information yet because students don't pop up in here until they have opened the assignment. So once students start working, completing this, assuming that these are all computer scored questions, I don't know for sure. This one's open-ended, so in fact, I'm going to have to grade these. Okay, so actually, this is the only one that would be auto-scored. So once kids start completing these, you're going to have to come in and grade the open-ended ones before the score feeds in. But you could also add an EdPuzzle that was all computer scored, and then as soon as kids finish it, the grades are going to pop up in the Schoology gradebook. So you can launch live mode. You can view as a student to show your students if this is one of the first times that you're using an EdPuzzle. But I'll also pop in and just show you in the gradebook. I can now see that section 1 has this assigned, and section 2, which is linked to it, also has it assigned. If I pull a student over, let me see, I've got a student count here. I'll pull that over on screen. So let me refresh it first. Okay, so students can see that that protecting homes during a wildfire is there, and they can launch it. And they can go ahead and take the assignment, finish that. And once they finish it, I'll see the questions for me to grade, and we'll be all set. I'm going to show you one more thing. Now that I've added an EdPuzzle, the first time I did it, I created a class and then I did it. Now, if I want to go to add materials, or just if I want to add the next one right under here, next time I go to EdPuzzle, it's going to allow me to just, let's pick one that's all auto-scored, like this one. We'll assign this one. We'll just, again, I like to give a couple chances, but it's up to you. Assign this. And now remember, I do need to go in here and edit that right away and enable grading. Again, that was 5 questions. I'll do 10 points again. We'll choose that same category, and we'll give a due date. This time, this one will be due, let's say, the 13th at midnight. That's fine, and we'll assign it. So now if I refresh my screen, we'll see that that one's there, and now students have a couple. When they do this one, the scores are just going to feed in automatically. So it's good.